Hello my friends, and welcome back, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin, and today we're doing a reading vlog, but a very special reading vlog. I'm going to be reading popular fantasy books because, as you may know, or you actually might not, because if you're new here you wouldn't know this, but I'm on a fantasy journey this year. I am trying to read fantasy books and step out of my typical same old genres and read things that I don't tend to gravitate towards. Now, since I don't really know much about fantasy, I decided to look at what's popular because, I don't know, this could either be really, really bad or it could be really, really smart. I'm not really sure how this is gonna go. I just picked a bunch of books. I have a stack that I've heard a lot of people talk about, either on TikTok, booktube, Instagram, whatever. I've just seen them mentioned a lot. I know that people feel positively about these books, although there is one that is a little of a mixed bag, which we'll get to because I'm going to start with that one. Anyways, I decided that this would be fun to try and see what kind of fantasy I like. Try to get a better feel for what I vibe with, what I don't, what I like, what I don't like, what authors I like, what authors I don't like, whatever, you know. You know the drill, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I have a stack of books. Now, I was discussing it with Justin, my fiance, who's there. You can kind of see him in the corner. And I was trying to figure out which book to read first. And this is kind of probably not smart, but I'm gonna start with Silver Elite. This book has been talked about a lot. I saw everyone talking about how good this was, how amazing it was, blah, blah, blah. And then I just started seeing an influx of negativity talking about how it's not dystopian. I saw the author say that this was supposed to be for like Hunger Games, but spicy. All I know is it's dystopian. It's like a dystopian fantasy. I don't know, okay? I got this from Book of the Month. And by the time my book got to me, which was a really long time, I had to wait for this book. And by the time I got it, everyone was talking about how bad it was. So I'd already gotten it at that point. I'm gonna try to read it. I might DNF it. Also, look at how sad these sprayed edges look. Don't they look really dull and like faded or something? Like they don't even look at that. I don't know, but I know it's like Book of the Month and sometimes the quality is not that great, but I'm a little disappointed. Anyways, I'm going to start with this one. Again, could be a horrible idea, but I want to see what everyone's talking about and I want to see it for myself because I feel like I'm a good neutral party since I don't read a lot of fantasy. Although The Hunger Games is my favorite series of all time, so we'll see how that turns out. So I'm going to start with this one and I'll update you when I have something to say about it. Let me try to explain what I think this book feels like. I imagine that the author watched Divergent, the movie, once. Not read the books, nothing else, just watched the first Divergent movie and went, you know what? I could make a book that's kinda like that. And then proceeded to write whatever this is. And I mean that as no offense to Divergent fans because I know Divergent is very well loved. I've seen the movies, I never read the books. I was more of a Hunger Games girl, so I didn't really get into Divergent, but Divergent is obviously probably better than this, but I do feel like that's what the author was thinking when they wrote whatever this turned out to be. I'm 100 pages, 102. I'm DNFing it because I can't stand the main character. She is so insufferable. She is such a pick-me. She keeps talking about how special she is and how powerful she is and how there's just no one like her. She's not like other girls. She's not like other girls, okay? She's different. She's special. She's just she's just better. Like, oh my god, if I have to read that one more time, I'm going to scream. Okay. Two, the world building I think is very poor. I know it's only 100 pages into the book, but I feel like the fantasy that I've read so far in my very short time reading fantasy, I feel like at least within the first 100 pages, I kind of understand what's going on with this world. I have my bearings a little bit. I can follow a little bit easier. I feel like the world is so not fleshed out. Like, I feel like the author is just kind of slapping words together and making sentences, but the sentences don't necessarily say anything. Like, they just have like random words and you're like, oh, okay, but then like nothing's built upon that, so you're kind of like, wait, what about that stuff you just said? But then nothing, there just is nothing more. I can't even really tell you what this book is about, really, because I just feel like there's not a lot going on. But our main character, Ren, she is what is considered a mod, and she can communicate with other mods telepathically. She can also read minds, and the people that are normal are called primes. And I guess people don't like mods because they can read your minds, and that's like bad. And she gets into some trouble because of her super special talents for everything and how amazing she is. So that's pretty much all I really can tell you. The romance is cringe. It's trying to be enemies to lovers, but like, it's coming off too strong, and it's just like every interaction between the two, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cute, that's cute. So it's very cringy. This doesn't feel like a dystopian at all. It feels like a romantasy. It feels like a poorly fleshed out world with no dystopian elements really, or a minuscule dystopian splash. And the focus is romance, which I'm not interested in. The romance is not interesting to me in the slightest. I don't like either of the characters enough. Again, it's just very cringy. One other thing that I literally can't stand, and I'm so sorry if you don't like cursing, please cover your ears and don't listen to this part, but she has this phrase that she says, like this curse word that she says, but all it is hell fuck. So it's just the word hell and the word fuck mashed together to make a new word. And like, I know that they're trying to give her some like unique little catchphrase of sorts. I mean, it's not really a catchphrase, but like some little quirky thing that she can say. And it's just, you took two words that already exist and like mashed them together to make a new longer curse word, but every time she says it, it just sounds so stupid. I can't get over it. It just sounds so awkward and stupid. The main character is also 20 years old, and she comes off super young. Again, just like, it's so cringy, so not like other girls. It's just, it's so hard to read. It is so painfully hard to read. I cannot continue. It is so unbearable. I just don't care. I don't care enough. I think comparing this to the Hunger Games is criminal, honestly, because Hunger Games is such a, one, it's well loved, but two, there's so much commentary about the world and our government, and it's such a heartbreakingly beautiful story that has so much to say. And comparing this to the Hunger Games should be a crime. Lock them up, like that's, no. And honestly, even comparing this to Divergent, I think is just, it's not it's not accurate. I can see how the author watched Divergent and then was like, I can do that, but I don't think this is like Divergent in that sense either. It feels kind of like a Divergent fan fiction or something. I don't know. Which again is such a disservice to fan fiction. But this book is so bad. I can't read this. I literally can't. I can't read this. I'm sorry if you love this book. It is not for me. So sorry. But I am going to tackle another very highly talked about book, things that I've seen all over booktube, and I don't know if I've seen it on TikTok or like Book Talk. Maybe I've seen it on Instagram, I'm not sure, but I'm going to do The Will of the Many by James, is it Islington? This is a chunk, but funny enough, I have seen people say that if you like Hunger Games, this kind of has a similar vibe, which we'll see, because I love the Hunger Games. But yeah, I think I'm going to try this chunky one and see how I feel about this. So hopefully this is more what I want, but I will come back and let you all know how I'm feeling about it, give you a little update, and we'll chit chat here soon. Okay, so I'm here to update. I have started The Will of the Many and I'm about halfway through. I'm like a little less than halfway, but I'm on page 307 out of like 600 something. This book is so freaking long. The first thing I have to say, okay, one, this is such a baby thing to be upset about, but the text is so freaking small and this book is like a jillion pages long, so it's not my favorite. But I'm actually kind of sad because I'm not really loving this one. And I hate saying that because I know this is like well loved. People are absolutely feral for this book and are obsessed. I've heard nothing but like everyone giving it 5 stars. I don't know if my brain is just not used to this kind of fantasy, if it's just too hard for me to comprehend, but there's just so many things about this that I'm not loving, so I'm not having the best time reading it. It's also because it's super long. Like this is probably, well, I don't know, this might be the longest, if not the longest, it's definitely one of the longest fantasies that I've read so far in my fantasy journey, and I feel like I'm gonna have the worst synopsis for this book because it is so hard for me to explain this book. I tried over and over again to explain it to Justin to prepare to update you all, and I still feel like I can't accurately describe this book in a way that makes sense. So please bear that in mind. Give me some grace. Be lenient on my little baby fantasy brain, okay? So in this book, we're following Viz, who I believe is 17 and he's orphaned. He has this past and he has changed his name so no one knows who he is, and he's just starting over. Like he's still keeping some of the story similar, like he is an orphan and stuff like that, but he is hiding his true identity. And he lives in this orphanage and he works at this prison, and one day he meets this man and things happen. He ends up getting adopted by this man, and this man wants him to go attend this academy, but kind of as a spy to uncover some secrets that this guy thinks is happening at the academy. The magic system is very, it's cool, it's really cool, but it's very complicated. There is this thing called will, and every person has it. And the way I describe it, I feel like is a very, very vague and kind of bare minimum way to explain it. I feel like it's super complicated and I don't necessarily have the right words, but basically I think that I consider it someone's essence, okay? And so the government in this world is the hierarchy. And it's kind of what it sounds like, but the people at the bottom of the pyramid in the hierarchy, their will is given to the people above them. So the people above them get to use will from other people to do other things. It makes them stronger, and it helps them just kind of ascend the pyramid as well. So the goal is obviously to keep climbing and hit, you know, the top of the top and, you know, get good jobs, have a good life, whatever. But if you are at the bottom of the pyramid, your will is gonna be for other people. It's interesting. It's just, it's a lot. I feel like this book starts you off not really explaining a lot, and then you kind of have to piece things together as you continue reading, and it does get easier to understand the things that are super complex, but I do wish we had more. I feel like I could have a better understanding of this system, and I feel like I just don't. I think another thing that bothers me is Viz, the main character. It's written in first person, so you're reading from his perspective, but honestly, I just think it's a disservice to his character because I find him deeply unlikable. I don't like him. I think reading from his perspective is really boring, and I'm just not invested in this 17-year-old boy. I think if he's not arrogant and annoying and kind of self-centered, he comes off very bland. So I'm just not a fan of him in general and of his character, and I kind of wish it was a third person perspective because I feel like I might like him better if I wasn't supposed to be reading as him. I don't know. But I'm also just really tired of fantasy books where the main character is an orphan and he goes to an academy, he or she, they go to an academy and they're at the bottom of the barrel and people are judging them because they're an orphan, and then they have to rise the ranks of the academy and prove themselves, and people still don't like them, but they're really good at XYZ and they're like super talented, and like I feel like I've read so many fantasy books with that plot, and I feel like there's even more like that I haven't read. So I'm just kind of bored of it. Maybe it's because I just read The Poppy War and The Poppy War was so incredibly amazing. So I don't know if it's just that, but I'm just like, I'm not interested. Also, this book is so long and I don't like long books in general, but this is so draining to read. I feel like I'm so freaking bored. Part 1 dragged and it took so long to get through. I was so uninterested. Part 2 has gotten a little bit better, but now we're at the academy with the main character and it just feels so typical that I'm not that invested. I don't know, I don't want to keep reading it to an extent, but also everyone keeps saying that it's amazing and life-changing and the ending is crazy, so I do want to keep reading to find out what happens and to see if my opinions do change. But like, it's just taking me so long to read this book. It is like pulling teeth for me. I don't know, I'm just not obsessed with it, which I know is controversial. I know it's controversial. It could be me, it could be my little baby brain, I'm not sure, but we'll see. I'm gonna keep reading it. I want to finish it, but I'm not loving it, which is crazy to say. I know everyone loves this book, so hopefully it'll change my mind, but that's my update for now, and hopefully you're all not mad at me for not liking this book, but yeah, I'll update you when I finish it, which will probably be in like 3 days because it's taking me forever. Okay, so I actually finished The Will of the Many yesterday, but I decided to wait and talk to you all today because I really needed to sit with my thoughts on this one. I have mixed feelings, which I feel like I say all the time in vlogs, and you're probably tired of me saying, I have mixed feelings about this book. But truly, sometimes books, I just can't gather my feelings because I feel so mixed up, and that sounds so ridiculous, me trying to explain it and then using the exact same words. Whatever. Anyways, so I feel like a lot of my feelings still stand from the last check-in. I did feel like this book got a lot easier to read and a lot more fun to read after part one. Part one was just a slog. It dragged. I felt like it was throwing information at me and not explaining things. I did not like our main character Vis. I just was not feeling it in part one. Part two and part three were immensely better. I will 100% say that. I did enjoy my time more with part two and part three. I feel like I'm not a super big fan of the academy student who's an orphan enters and there's a whole bunch of elite kids who have been at this for so long and they're above this character's, intelligence, and they're better at all the stuff than them, and they don't like them because they're like an outsider and they're different and whatever. I want to say that I don't like that trope. I just feel like I'm so bored of it. It feels so overused. The problem is I just read The Poppy War, and while these are very different series, I mean, I know this is only book one and book two hasn't come out yet, but it's obviously a series. While I feel like they are very different series, I feel like The Poppy War, the first book, does have, some similar things in it, and I just preferred The Poppy War way more. I think it was done better. I think Rin was a better character. I think, the racism involved and the fact that it's based off of a real war. I just think that the Poppy War trilogy did so much better with the things that I didn't like in this one. And I just have to say, I just don't think I like that trope. I think I just need to stay away from the whole student academy thing. I don't know. I don't think I'm the biggest fan of it. I also don't really like reading from male characters. I know that sounds horrible, but I am a woman. I like to read, women protagonists. I just like that. I don't really want to read about a 17-year-old boy, honestly. I found Vis super annoying. I just didn't like his personality. I thought he was irritating and I just couldn't connect with him. I didn't like him. So reading from his perspective was really hard because this is in first person. So I don't know. I just think third person might have been better for it. I don't know, but I just wasn't a big fan of him. There were some good twists and turns, little ones, not huge ones, but little ones. I have to say I was really holding out for the ending because people really, really hyped up the ending, and I'm pretty sure I recorded my reaction to it. I was kind of disappointed because it wasn't that shocking to me. I mean, it's not that I saw it coming, but when they revealed it, I was just kind of like, okay, that's it. So I do feel like the ending, I was waiting for something super jaw-dropping and I just didn't get it. Maybe it was because the whole reading experience was all over the place for me. Maybe if I had been really sucked into the story, I think the ending would have gotten me a lot better, but I was just kind of like, okay, that's it. Sure. I do think the magic system in here is really, really cool. I have to give it to the author for that because it's very interesting. I obviously haven't read anything like it. Not that I'm an expert because I've barely read fantasy at all, but I haven't seen anything like it, haven't read anything like it, and I think it's super cool. I just think that it didn't all come together for me personally. It's also so long. It's 620 pages. I feel like that's unnecessary. I don't really love super long books in general, but this just felt like it did not need to be 600 pages. I'm sure people will definitely disagree with me on that because they probably ate this up and loved every second of it and wanted it to go on forever and ever. I was ready for myself to get to the end. I was pretty done with it by the halfway point. So I don't know, I guess I'm in the minority with this one. I feel really bad. I'm sure people are gonna be so mad at me because I did not love this one and it's so popular, but I am giving this a 3.5. Next book in the series I might give a read. I'm not quite sure yet. I'll have to think about that. It was okay. I can see why people really loved it. I just don't think it was for me and my fantasy tastes. But I am moving on to A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I have been in a mythology kick lately, so I definitely wanted to read this one. And we are following the main character, Freya, who is married to this guy who is a child of the gods, and he's not a nice person. And Freya wants to join in these raids. She wants to fight. She doesn't really want to be a wife. She doesn't want to clean and cook. She wants to join in the fight. She wants to protect her land. She wants to fight alongside, you know, the people of her country, and that's just not really something she's allowed to do right now because apparently she has a secret, which I have already found the secret because I am 50 some pages in, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. But she has a secret, so she's got to keep that on the down low. And so far, loving it. I don't know much about Norse mythology. I'm more well versed in Greek mythology. That's the only one I've really studied. So this is all kind of brand new information to me. I am looking things up sometimes when they mention people because I'm like, I don't know who that is. I need to find out some information so I can be a little bit more up to date and in the know. So I do feel like I am learning a lot while reading it, and so far it's really fun and I'm liking it. So that's what I'm reading next, and I will probably update you all when I finish it because it looks like it's a quick little read here. So I'm going to read that today and play Animal Crossing with Justin because I started over my island and now I'm back at the beginning and I have to do all the stupid lame stuff that takes forever to get to the point where Animal Crossing gets a little easier and not as tedious. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. I will check in with you all in a bit. Alright, I finished A Fate Inked in Blood, and I actually really did enjoy this book. Like I said in a previous few videos actually, but I said previously in this video that I've been in a Greek mythology mood so heavily within the last like month or so. And when I saw this was Norse mythology, I got really excited because I actually don't know a lot about Norse mythology. I haven't really seen a lot about it. I haven't really like studied it. Most of the knowledge I have is in Greek mythology. So I knew this would be interesting because I don't know a lot, and I think I said in the last check-in that I was doing a lot of Googling, which was true. I was looking up some gods and goddesses names because I wasn't super familiar with who they were, what they did, so I just wanted to like have a little bit of background. So I feel like this actually did teach me some things. I feel like I did come away a little bit smarter in that aspect, and I mean like a teensy bit smarter, not like a lot, but just like I feel like I have like the ittiest bit more knowledge in Norse mythology now, and I'm more fascinated with it. Like I would love to read more books similar to this. I gave you like a quick like 50-page summary, but I'll tell you a little bit more what this book is about. So we're following Freya, and she is married to this really horrible man, and he's a child of the gods, and she married him because he makes her family's life easier. It was more like a this is gonna be good for the family if you marry him, but it's okay because he's terrible, but like we'll get good stuff out of it. Well, they will, not Freya. And she just didn't really enjoy her life married to him. He was not nice to her, and she didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom and like take care of kids and keep the house. She wanted to be out fighting in these raids. She wanted to be defending her country. She wanted to be like, you know, she wanted to be fighting. And she has this secret that she has been concealing, and when her secret gets revealed, she ends up getting married off to another man who wants to use her for not necessarily war, but like, yeah, basically he wants to use her to become more powerful and to fight against other countries, but also gain more power. And she ends up falling for his son. So she's married to him, but she's into his son. So I really liked the romance. I just really liked them together. I liked the forbidden nature of it. I just thought that was kind of fun. I always enjoy like a little bit of forbiddenness in romance, so this one was done really well. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with this book from the beginning. I was really immersed into it. I liked the fantasy elements. I liked the setting. I liked the mythology. I liked everything. And then, not that it fell apart exactly, because I actually did really like this book. I'm giving it 4 stars, but there were some things that I didn't love, and one of them is that Freya is a character that, while I understand why she is the way she is, it bothers me. So she defends her family a lot. She's very protective of her family. Everything she does is to protect them, and they're the first people she thinks of, and they're the ones that she is desperate to save. But it's so frustrating because if the roles were reversed, they wouldn't do the same for her, and they're so ungrateful. Like, they're just not nice people. They treat her very awful. She's had such a hard time with life. Not like that she's had the hardest life or the worst life, but she's been in situations that are really unfair, and her family is just like, suck it up, you did it to save us, and you should because we're your family. And she just like lets them do that to her, and like, even though they're awful, she still does the same. She still makes the same decisions, and she still does the same things, and that frustrates me, because I am someone who, I don't care if you're family, if you treat me that way, you're nothing to me. And so watching people get into those situations, it's just frustrating because I want them to walk away, and I think they deserve better, but they won't like allow themselves to do that, and it's really frustrating. So that was like one thing about Freya that I just couldn't stand, and towards the end she was really getting on my nerves. She was really getting on my nerves because I was like, girl, your family sucks, okay? Your family sucks. Just leave. Just don't care about them. And I know that's a mean thing to say, but and I know she's just not that type of person. They're showing her actions that she's kind and worthy of the gods' blessing, and you know, she's a good person, whatever, but like, ugh, okay, yeah, she's a better person than I am, but it was frustrating. And then the second thing that happened is the end of this book I was really annoyed by. Not that it was bad, it was just annoying again because of Freya's behavior. I wasn't surprised by anything that happened in the end. I was pretty positive I had figured it all out like around halfway through the book. So it's not one of those books that's super complicated and complex and super twisty and turny. I figured everything out. I think it's a pretty simple plot. Not that that's bad, because it was a lot of fun. But Freya's reaction to some of the things that happen at the end, I was like, Freya, why are you acting like this? She got on my nerves a little bit, okay? She irritated me a little bit at the end of the book, okay? I love her, but she was being a little bit of a dum-dum. I did pick up the sequel to this one, Curse Carved in Bone, which just came out. So I did pick that one up already because I am going to continue this because I really did like it. So I had some grievances with it, but overall, I do think it's a really fun story. The last book for this vlog is going to be The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I've heard so much about this author and this series, and I'm super excited to read it. I believe it's about this girl. I don't know how old she is actually. This woman, young woman, I don't know. She is the adopted human daughter of the vampire king, and to like prove her worth, she goes into this like deadly game against other like vampire house people, warriors, and then she makes an alliance with a rival, and he's like he's like dangerous and then they have like a connection or something. I don't know. But everyone freaks out about this author and this book. So I'm gonna read this one last and see if I end up liking it. So I will take you along for this one and tell you how I'm feeling when I have something to say. Alright, so I finally finished the last book in this vlog, The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I was going to check in halfway through this book, but I was not really liking it, so I decided to stick out the second half of the book and see if my feelings changed. That way I could come back with a more thoughtful review on the entire book than just the first half, because I didn't want it to be too negative, so I was like, okay, wait. So I think my problem with this book is, one, I feel like the plot is so average. I think it's something I've seen hundreds of thousands of times, and not that that's a bad thing. I do think some books that I have seen use the same plot over and over again can be really new and refreshing and can still have a different take on it and can be really fun and, you know, unique. But for this, I was just kind of bored the entire time because I was waiting for something interesting to happen, or for something different to pop up, or something unique, something I hadn't seen done before. So I was kind of dawdling, waiting around, seeing what was gonna happen. The other thing I really didn't like about this book is the main character. I think her name is Araya. I think her name is Araya. I'm not really sure. If it isn't that, very sorry. I'm sure someone probably knows the correct pronunciation and can correct me in the comments. She is the human daughter of the Vampire King, right? She enters this tournament to kind of prove her worth in this vampire society because she's obviously very different than them, and she was adopted by the Vampire King at a very young age. So she did grow up around vampires, but she grew up very fearful of vampires because obviously they could kill her at any moment. So her dad kind of just taught her to never trust any of them. He was the only one that was trustworthy, and to just expect them to try to kill her. I understand why her personality is the way it is, but she was so irritating. I believe she's supposed to be 23, and she doesn't feel 23 to me. She feels very young, but she's kind of a very stereotypical flat character in my opinion. Like, she has that stereotype of, well, I'm a badass and I am really strong and I'm different than all the other humans, so I'm not really like them, but I'm not really like you either, so I'm just like, I'm just different, but I'm also very skilled in everything that you guys are too. So like, I don't know, she was just kind of really annoying, and her personality was really non-existent. Like, I didn't find her interesting, or I didn't connect to her in any sense, so I really struggled with her during the first half of the story. I think in the second half she did get a bit better, and I liked her a little bit more. I think the tournament also was lacking, right? Because she enters this tournament to prove her worth, and it's very Battle Royale-esque. And I think the problem is people compared this to the Hunger Games, which is such a thing to do nowadays. Anytime there's a tournament or people fighting to the death, or, you know, whatever, something where a bunch of people get put into a situation and they have to kill each other, right? It's always compared to Hunger Games nowadays because Hunger Games is so big. But the problem is 9 times out of 10, they just don't have anything like the Hunger Games involved except this little match. And that's how I feel about this. Everyone compares it to the Hunger Games, but it's not like the Hunger Games. It feels like a battle royale style, like it's very bloody and, you know, brutal, I guess, but it kind of bored me. I expected more from the tournament, honestly. I was expecting more from the challenges. I thought it was going to be a little bit more intense and interesting, and I felt like some points I got a little like, oh, but I wasn't as invested. So I don't know, I think maybe my hopes got up too high because of the Hunger Games trigger buzzwords, you know. And then the romance was fine. It was a fine enemies to lovers. I mean, it wasn't anything like spectacular. I felt like if you've read an enemies to lovers in a book that's like this, you'll probably be like, ah, yes, it's a romance. Cool. It was there. So, I mean, it was fine. I wasn't obsessed with either character. I wasn't gushing and obsessed with their romance or anything like that. It was just, you know, they didn't like each other in the beginning. They become allies. They work together. They see different sides of each other and they get connected, blah, blah, blah. It's same old story told 100 different ways. And then, honestly, the ending, the ending was kind of predictable because I did see it coming, but then when it continued on into the last few chapters, I was like, what is this? The ending honestly pissed me off and I was kind of angry. I didn't like how it ended at all. I thought it was just kind of dumb, and that makes me not want to read the rest of the books at all. I don't want to continue this series because I'm guessing from how the book ends, I can kind of see where it's gonna go. I don't want to read a story like this. So it wasn't for me. I thought it was gonna be, but it definitely was not. I will probably give this 3 stars. It wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't something that I really, really enjoyed and I would reread or anything like that, and I'm obviously not going to continue the series. So this was definitely a very interesting experiment. I'm trying to find my reading taste in fantasy now that I'm reading fantasy. I don't know what I like, what I don't like, and out of the 4 books, I think the only one I really, really liked was A Fate Inked in Blood. This is the only one that I really enjoyed. So, I mean, I didn't hate The Will of the Many or The Serpent and the Wings of Night, but I didn't love these as much as everyone else does. And then this one I didn't even get far into. So, yeah, my reading taste is still very up in the air. I don't know what I like. If you can give me any recommendations based off what you've seen in this video and what I've said, that would be so appreciated because I still don't know what to look for. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you all don't hate me so much because I know these were popular books and I just kind of roasted a lot of them. Well, not roasted, but I didn't love them like everyone else does. Hopefully no one's too mad at me. But I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. If you agree, disagree, let me know. I would love to chat with you. If you like this video and you want to see me try more fantasy books, go ahead and give this a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel so we can become friends, talk about books, horrifying books, thrilling books, romance books, manga, fantasy, all kinds of books. And with that being said, I hope you are having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!